Now time for the Being Wrong segment here with Matt Jones. Matt and I first knew each other in our time with the Alexandria Beetles. I don't know if the sweatshirt is visible there.
Beatles.
Many years ago, I was the broadcaster. Matt was the field manager for the team for my first two seasons, 2002, 2003. Just had our podcast conversation here, and as I've done before in the Being Wrong segment, I like to record video of it. Matt, looking back at your life, what's something that you can say now that you were wrong about?
Well, I think if I were to, if I could go back as the older guy now and talk to my younger coaching self, I think it would, the one thing I would say is don't be so quick to try and impose change on people. I think the one thing that I really learned over time is that while people do change, they have to want to. And, you know, when I was coaching when I was young, particularly when I was at Los Medanos College, which is a junior college, there were some really physically talented kids. And they may not have had the best work ethic, or they may not have made the best decisions off the field, and they may not have behaved a certain way. And I always felt like I could make them act differently. And I think the thing that I was wrong about with that is that I don't think you can do that with people. You know, I think that people will change, like I said, but I think they have to want to, and they have to kind of come to that conclusion on their own. And I think that as I got older as a coach, and now even older as a parent, but also as somebody who, my job, I consider myself kind of like an academic coach now, is instead of enforcing that change on people, is just be a good role model for when they decide it's time for them, that maybe it's something that they can pick something from the way that I do things that they can implement for themselves.
And what would you say to someone that at this point they're trying to change, but they don't know how? Like people, I think there are people that are trying to improve themselves, but really struggle with it. So you coming in and telling them to change this thing, it doesn't work. Is there a method that you've learned that to help someone that's trying to help themselves, but just maybe hasn't quite acquired that skill yet?
Well, I think that somebody has to identify what it is they want to change. And they have to really want to. And there's a difference between saying, yeah, I want to do that differently, but really wanting to do something different. There's a deeper internal feeling that when you really want something to happen, that you get to. And I think that that's the first thing that they have to do, is get to that point of want to do it. Not need to, not have to, but really just want to do something differently.
Do you think back to your life where you were stubborn about change maybe in some way, where you started to have this realization that change is okay?
I think I've always been fairly receptive to change. I think that it's something that, for me, especially when I was younger, doing things differently was okay. I was always fairly open to change, but I just, as it applied to other people, I mean, there were some players in particular that I can think back in my head that, yeah, you know, I really was trying to make that kid something that he just wasn't ready to be. And I was wrong in the way that I dealt with those situations back then. And I think that had I just allowed them to be who they are and given them an opportunity to change if they wanted to, maybe it would have been different. I don't know that they would have ended up in a different place. Not that I think any of these people are in bad places, but I think it would have been easier on me.
Mm-hmm.
So
change is difficult, but I think that's, as we all get older, we have the ability to recognize things that we can learn from either being unable or unwilling to change previously, or, like you said, knowing that you can't force change on somebody else.
Right.
I think that wraps up this episode, Matt, but those people watching it video, just kind of recapping, you and I hadn't seen each other now, I think more precisely, probably like 13 and a half years is the last time we can definitely say that we saw each other.
Right.
And this podcast, People I Know show, is about a lot of things, but I'm learning it's a way to see people from my past that I enjoyed having in my life that I just haven't seen forever. And he lives in California. I live in Minnesota. It's not easy, but here we are in some random library in the northern part of California having a conversation today.
Fairfield.
Fairfield. I guess it's not that random.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks a lot, Matt.
Thank you.